and welcome to The Absurdist,
a podcast where we find and investigate the strange and bizarre phenomena that litter our planet and our world.
Very nice. I'm Sarah Painter, a real estate journalist at Yahoo Finance.
And I'm Hattie Eshelman. I am an artist and metalsmith. And right now I work at a pawn shop, which is bizarre and fascinating in and of itself.
Very, very cool. So, what do we have first, Hattie?
So, one thing that we thought would be really fun to start it off and maybe open the eyes of our listeners to some of the strange and absurd things that surround all of us every day is we wanted to do some fun facts and just of strange things that the two of us have found in our various internet wanderings and just wherever. So, Sarah, do you have a fun fact for us to start off with?
Yes, I do. Hattie, have you ever heard of the telling of the bees?
The telling of the bees?
Yes.
No, tell me about it.
So basically, this is a traditional European custom, and basically, people need to tell bees about the important events in their, beekeepers, need to tell their bees about births, marriages, deaths in their home. And if they forgot, then the bees were not put into mourning. The bees are supposed to mourn for the family, and they will then have to pay a penalty. And that penalty means they're going to have to leave their hive, stop making honey, and they will die. So the telling of the bees is a very important custom in the context of the bees are dying. Do you think this could be the reason, Hattie?
Wait. Okay, I have clarifying questions.
Go ahead, yes.
So the bees are supposed to mourn the deaths of the human families.
Yes.
The bees are mourning the deaths of their beekeepers, next of kin and such.
Yes.
Okay. The beekeepers are supposed to inform the bees that there's been a death in the family.
Yes.
And then they're supposed to put the bees into a period of mourning?
Yes. That's correct.
During which time the bees are not producing honey?
No. So nothing. I don't think there's really anything
during their period of mourning.
I don't know, and that's a really good question. How do bees mourn?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if they don't mourn, then there's a consequence, and the consequence is the bees start dying, they stop making honey, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, this brings me to my next question. The consequence is that the bees are cast out of their hive for not having mourned properly?
That's correct.
Okay, who is enforcing this?
Nature.
What?
This is just the way of nature.
Nature is enforcing the casting out of the bees?
Yes. Yeah. I'm getting this from a very reliable source, Wikipedia. It also says that bees can be invited to the funeral. And yeah, and in cases where the beekeeper had died, food and drink from the funeral would be left by the hive for the bees, including funeral biscuits and wine.
Funeral biscuits.
And
biscuits for the bees.
Yeah, and it says the hive should be rotated to face the funeral procession, draped with a mourning cloth. So this is actually a bit of your answer here on how bees mourn. Yeah.
Wow. They mourn by draping their hive in a funeral cloth.
Oh, and you should never give away or exchange the bees of the dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, be warned.
This is incredible.
Yeah. And let me read you a poem. There's a poem by John Greenleaf Whittier called Home Ballads that describes the practice.
Okay.
Before them, Under the garden wall, forward and back, went drearily singing the core girl small, draping each hive with a shred of black. Trembling, I listened. The summer sun had the chill of snow, for I knew she was telling the bees of one gone on the journey we all must go. Stay at home, pretty bees, fly not hence. Mistress Mary is dead and gone.
Wow.
That's it.
Stay home, bees, fly not hence. So they're to mourn by staying in their hive and
Yeah, I
thinking
guess so. Yeah.
on the past, those that have passed on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know any bees that you could talk to?
I don't know any bees personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few bees that have passed on that I have kept their little bee bodies in case I need to make some art out of them.
Yeah, expand on this for our listeners who are disturbed right now.
I considered not sharing this bit of information, but this is a podcast called The Absurdist, and this is Hattie Eshelman and Sarah Painter, and this is the kind of thing you're going to get, so buckle up. I often, in my art, will investigate various themes of morbidity, both human and animal, and I find I frequently will incorporate like the bodies of little bugs that have passed on one way or another. And
Why do you do that, Hattie?
because it's okay, are you familiar with the phrase memento mori?
No.
Memento mori is Latin, and it means remembrance of death. And it was actually a very important concept in the history of jewelry. So in the Victorian era, they would have rings and necklaces and things that were designed with various patterns, but often it would be like a ring with a little skull that's carved out of a pearl or something like that. And they had all this jewelry that was meant as a memento mori, or a remembrance of death. And so the point being to remind the wearer of the ring that you are going to die. And it's kind of like the modern day, you only live once, and just a reminder that this is the one life that we have and that we will die. So kind of looking at themes like that. But I also had this project going where I would write fly poetry, where
I remember that. I remember that. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm still doing that actually, because there are a lot of flies in my room usually, so
Me too.
I have to hunt them down, and then once I've successfully hunted them, I tape them to a piece of paper and I write a poem about them.
Aha.
Sometimes a haiku, sometimes not.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this is very, in line with the telling of the bees.
It is very in line with the telling of the bees. Mm-hmm. I have much more respect for bees than I have for flies.
My room is filled with flies.
I would never intentionally kill a bee, but I would absolutely intentionally kill a fly.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, Hattie, why don't you share your fun fact?
Okay, well, so I went for more. I think I have more facts, but maybe less in depth, because that was such a complex story that had so much to it. So mine are
I'm
more
sorry,
like,
that could have been like a feature in itself. I think I went a little long.
I think it is. No, I think it's wonderful. I'm so glad that I know now about the telling of the bees, because sometimes you learn something and then afterwards you feel as though your life was missing something really important before you knew that thing. And
Yeah.
I really feel that way about the telling of the bees. So
Well, good.
I appreciate it.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
So the first fact that I came up with is that it is possible for a bolt of lightning to be up to 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun.
That's crazy to me.
Isn't that insane?
Yes. And then you think about people who've said people are struck by
Who've been
lightning
hit
and
by
live.
lightning. Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. Huh?
How does that work?
I do not know the science behind it. I didn't do a dive on the research, which now I kind of want to. But if you want the numbers, so...
I do.
Do you want to guess?
Yes.
Do you want to guess how hot the surface of the sun is?
Oh. 5 billion degrees.
I like it. I like your commitment to that guess.
How many degrees?
The surface of the sun is 10,340 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's just not that hot compared to 5 billion.
You're like, yeah, I've conceptualized much hotter things before, so I'm not impressed. Yeah, so, but that means that there is lightning that reaches up to, this is a very specific number, but 53,540 degrees Fahrenheit.
That is hot.
It's very hot.
Huh.
But it's funny that you mentioned the people being struck by lightning thing, because I saw a picture the other day of someone who had been struck by lightning, and their arm had these, like, it almost looked like a tattoo, but it was, like, lightning-y shaped scars on their arm, but not disfiguring, really. It was just, like, textural on the surface, and it was fascinating.
Wow.
So now I'm going to try and find that photo and send it to you, / put it in the show notes.
Okay,
Which we
great.
will have.
Yes. Yes. Those are going to be important. And you know what I'm thinking? We
What?
need to have a Facebook page where we post also just like pictures and visuals and such, because share the type of things that we have on our Pinterest board.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds lovely. We should absolutely do that.
We can put the logo up there, and I think we'll gain more of like a following that way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we can have like a Twitter and all the platforms.
All the platforms, the social medias.
The social medias.
Okay,
Great.
I've got a story I think you're going to like.
Okay.
This is from the Houston Press. I came across it in my journalisming. Voodoo Donut is opening in Houston.
I've heard of this.
You have?
I have.
What do you know about it?
I know that it exists, and I know that it's, I think previously there was only one location.
Okay.
Or something. Like, it was something that you could only get if you went to one specific town.
Aha.
I don't remember. But I don't remember, like, the point of them.
Yeah. I don't know. The article is a little unclear, to be honest. But yesterday, one opened in Houston. And there was an opening where there was a live band and a ribbon cutting, and the first 28 customers got a free Voodoo dozen. And I'm just going to send you a picture right now of a Voodoo donut. I think you're going to enjoy it, and we could put that up in our hypothetical notes after. And
wow.
at the event, there was also a wedding. So Kenneth Cat Daddy Pogson and Tress Shannon, it says, are legally ordained to perform the marital ceremony, as are some of the staff. So I don't know whose wedding happened if it was Pogson and Shannon. They are lifelong friends. And so
Pogson and Shannon sounds like not quite a law firm. Like are like adjacent to a law firm.
yeah.
Like maybe a like if there was a natural remedies equivalent of a law firm,
Yeah.
it would be named Pogson and Shannon.
Yes.
Anyways, continue.
Okay, and so they have really cool donut flavors like Oh Captain My Captain, which is Captain Crunch berries on top.
That's amazing.
Yes. But what I thought was interesting was it has vintage donut decor. Pink is the predominant color, and there's a pink neon sign, and then there's a mural on the wall. This is a quote. The mural on the wall of the voodoo priest that decorates every box of donuts was done by local artist Wiley Robertson. There's no explanation given for that.
Of course.
So I reread the article a couple of times. It's just really not clear. Are these actual like voodoo power donuts? Like, if it's a voodoo priest, that kind of elevates this concept.
Right.
Yeah.
It very much elevates.
And so then the article just goes on to write into a buffalo head hangs on the wall as a nod to the Buffalo Heights neighborhood. All the while, Houston native Patrick Swayze's handsome face looks down from a starry heaven.
Wow.
So, and there's a drive-thru.
There is a drive-thru.
Yeah. So that's my second fun fact is the Voodoo Donut opened in Houston, and it is apparently all of the Voodoo Donuts are decorated by a voodoo priest. I assume that the voodoo priest is like one of the people that's ordained to perform a marriage.
Probably. I would guess.
Yeah.
I want to describe this picture for our listeners.
Yes.
So it's on, like you said, the pale pink background. Like that's the surface that they're putting the donuts on. And I can see some kind of like, maybe like some kind of apple crumble donut to one side.
Yeah.
But then in the center of the photo it's labeled Voodoo Doll in an interesting font. I guess like a voodoo font, if you can imagine what a voodoo font would look like. Like all caps and kind of angular, but not super neat.
I feel like it's like kind of Scooby-Doo-ish.
It's it's a Scooby-Doo font. That's a much better description than what I was going for. It's angular. What does that even mean? All fonts are technically angular in some way or another.
It's particularly
But yeah,
angular.
so it's a donut, and it's kind of like a wide eclair shape, but then it's got these little arms that stick out, and it's got chocolate frosting and a blue heart it's like a face at the top with yellow eyes and like a green frowny face. And then it's got
a really dramatic frown.
A dramatic frown. Yeah, it's a very angular frown. And then it's got a blue heart that's been put on there with kind of just like a regular frosting tube, like you would use with your nephew or whatever.
Yeah.
This blue heart, and then a pretzel stick stuck into the heart. Just one.
Stabbed.
Just one pretzel stick that's been stabbed into the heart of this very sad voodoo doll chocolate eclair donut.
Yeah.
And they also have vegan options, as I can see from the other
they
cut
do
off
have
part of the picture.
Yeah.
What were you wondering?
I wonder if they have the voodoo priest like what's the opposite of like curse them like with specific people in mind. I would like mine cursed for this, enemy of mine.
Right.
Yeah.
These feel like very important questions.
Huh. Well,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's incredible. If we're
It's-
ever in
I-
Houston, or where is
Yeah.
it? Dallas?
Houston, and actually, I
Houston.
just went on their website, and the first one was in Portland, and they also have locations in Denver and a couple other places, but it doesn't give more information on curses. I will say, though, I can see the CEO, a picture of the CEO. His name is Chris Schultz, and he is very normal looking. He does not look like just your average 40-year-old man in a checkered shirt.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know.
Just a dude.
He's just a dude.
But who knows? He could be a voodoo priest.
He
just
could
has a
be.
more, low-key style sense.
Yeah, you
You never
can't
know.
judge a book by its cover.
You can't judge a voodoo priest by his plaid shirt,
Yeah.
or whatever it
The
is that you
website
said.
gives no explanation for anyway, it's your turn.
Anyways, we have questions about Voodoo Donut. If you are a Voodoo Donut priest, or if you know one, or if you know more about, or even if you just live in Houston and you want
Yes.
to pop over and
Go
see if
do
they'll
research.
specifically curse a donut for you, let us know, because we're very curious. Oh, wow. Incredible. Okay, great. My second fact is also about dessert food,
Oh,
believe it or not.
nice. Okay.
Are you familiar with German chocolate cake?
Yes, I am.
What are your opinions on German chocolate cake?
I haven't eaten it in a while, but the last time I had it, I think I felt like it was a bit much, but it could also be really good. I can't remember.
Good dessert always walks the fine line of being a bit much and being really delicious.
Yeah.
That's the mark of a true dessert, is you're eating it and you're like, this might be a bit much, but I love it. Well,
So yes.
yes. So my fact is about German chocolate cake.
Okay.
This is a fact that startled me a lot.
Ooh.
I was not expecting it.
Okay.
Did you know that German chocolate cake was actually named after an American baker whose last name was German?
No.
It has no affiliation whatsoever with the country of Germany.
Stop lying.
All this time,
Wow.
we
I
thought,
am really surprised.
I know! It's a startling fact!
Yeah, I can understand why you were startled. I too am startled.
All this time, we thought we were enjoying cuisine of the dessert type from the great country of Germany, far, far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were actually just eating American chocolate cake that was made by a specific baker who named it after himself. And he happened to be named after a country, which just confused all of us. So.
But was he German?
No, he was American. His name was Samuel German. So. Yeah.
There used to be a teacher at my school whose last name was German.
Really?
Or German.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what if it's actually German chocolate cake?
That would change everything.
I might start calling it that just because. Be like, oh yes, have you tried the German chocolate cake? And they're like, what are you saying? And I'm like, well, didn't you know it actually has nothing to do with Germany, and just deflect and talk about the fact that it's named after this guy instead of having the actual conversation of, does this guy pronounce his last name German, or German?
It's a good question.
That's the real question.
Last names do change over generations.
They do.
Like, I know that at one point, people in my family have my last name is spelled Paynter. Sometimes it has been spelled the conventional way, so I'm not sure who changed it one way or another. But they made my life very difficult.
Yeah. You know, I've never actually affiliated your last name with the word painter as in one who paints.
Ah, yes. Most people, I say, my name's Sarah Painter. They say, Sarah Painter, do you paint?
I love that impression.
Thank you.
Yeah, in my mind, your last name has always been its own unique thing, and I've never for once thought to compare it to painting.
Yeah, yeah. It's very confusing for people, and it causes them to pronounce it Paintner, which is not phonetic. But they all do.
Wait, what?
Paintner.
Paintner.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But your name isn't pronounced the way it's spelled either.
No, it's not. It's not pronounced the way it's spelled at all. So if people pronounce my name phonetically, they would pronounce it Escheliman, but it's actually Eshelman. The E is in the wrong, like, what people might say, the wrong place for phonetically.
Stop telling the E it's wrong. It's just different.
It's not wrong. It's just different. It's doing its own thing, and we're proud of it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people pronounce it all sorts of weird ways when they're, like, not sure. And people spell it all sorts of weird ways when they're not sure.
Yes.
So, yeah. Weird last names, man.
Yeah. Okay, I have one.
Yeah.
I hope you don't know this one. Did you know that bees don't have lungs?
No!
Yeah. Bees breathe, I think through their, like, it's just passed freely. It says passed freely in and out of the bee, rather than being forced within a rib cage like that of a human.
Wait.
They don't use their mouth.
So the bee's entire body just absorbs the air around it.
Yes. They have little organs all over their trachea? How do you spell that?
Trachea?
Pronounce it. Trachea? Yeah. They're everywhere. They're all over it.
Wow.
And they've got pores called spiracles. And the air flows through the pores, goes into the trachea. And then it just, flows in and out. They don't breathe.
I'm speechless.
So they're like porous.
I think we should do an entire episode just about bees.
Oh yeah, I had 2 bee-related facts.
Don't apologize. I am the opposite of inconvenienced by your repetitive bee facts. Wow.
Okay.
I love that, and I love bees.
Yes. You
now
can go
I just
ahead.
want to learn a lot of things about bees.
Yeah, bees are interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, do you want my next fact?
I do.
All right. This is a short and sweet one, but
Okay.
it's going to blow your mind.
I am ready.
On the planet Venus, this is getting off to a great start, right? Yeah?
Yes, I love Venus.
On the planet Venus, it snows metal.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Metal.
Please elaborate.
Metal falls from the sky, from the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
In a way that is very similar to the way that it snows here.
So, not hail, not rain, snow.
Like a fine dust of metal.
Oh.
Specifically, the metals, I'm probably going to pronounce the metals wrong because I'm not super familiar with them, but galena and bismuthinite. Those two metals, snow on the planet Venus.
Very interesting. I wonder how they get up in the clouds in order to fall. Like, because we have evaporation.
Yeah. But metal surely... Could metal evaporate? Because metal has solid and liquid state.
Okay.
Because you can melt
lighter
metal.
Than air.
You can melt metal until it's a liquid, but... If it was hot enough, could it evaporate?
Why not? I guess that's smoke, right? I don't know.
Because smoke... I felt like only water could do that.
I don't know.
Might have to dig deeper into this one and see what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. But yeah, snow's metal on Venus, apparently.
Wow. That is really interesting.
I know. It's so weird. I'll have to dig deeper into that one, because the questions you're asking are making me want to learn more about it.
Yeah. Okay, I have one.
What you got?
And I think that we should just do 3 facts each, because I think this will get long. 3 facts is good.
Yeah.
But should I do another fact or no?
Yeah, we can each do one more fact, and then if we want to, we can cut them out and use them for other podcasts later. So, I don't know.
Okay.
Or if you want, we could save them for later.
Hattie, have you ever been in a situation where there's an emu and you really want it to come over, but no matter how much you call, it will not come over?
Yes, I know this one.
You do?
Do you want me to tell you what to do to attract an emu?
Yes.
This is such a good one. I'll have to see if you have the same answer as I do.
Okay.
So this is a fun game. You lay on your back and you move your legs around in the air like you're riding a bicycle.
Yep.
And it's so strange that the emu is like, what in the world is going on over there? And so it comes over because it wants to know what kind of creature you are and whether you're injured and what the heck is going on.
Yes, that is exactly what you do.
Who figured that out? How did they figure that one out?
All right, and your last fact, Hattie.
My last fact, short and sweet, but maybe savory, is that a single strand of spaghetti is called a spaghetto.
What? Are you kidding me?
That's what it says. I found that fact on the internet, so I don't know how true it is. Spaghetto.
Wow.
One spaghetto.
I'm going to pull that out next time and just seems so intelligent.
Yes. The challenge for this podcast for our listeners is if you're going to a fancy date, you have to, first of all, order spaghetti. And then you also have to casually work in the word spaghetto.
Yes. And let us know how it goes.
Let us know how it goes. Let us know if you get a second date, because that could be a good litmus test for the kind of person that you're having dinner with, is how they respond to that.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. You gotta have something to weed out the weak ones.
Yeah. If they can't handle spaghetto, they're not worth your time.
You should put that on like an embroidered pillow.
That would be good. I do have a list of phrases that would be funny on t-shirts. So that might be a good one to add.
Yeah. Okay, so. Hattie, do you have some kind of feature for us?
I do. I was in charge of coming up with an artifact for this episode, which could be pretty much anything. Could be a historical fact or a scientific fact or something art related. So I decided to go with something that is very much in and of itself an artifact, like the physical object of an artifact. So, I have a picture of it here. Okay. And it's kind of shaped like, so it's got a long handle, and it's kind of shaped like a tooth, like if you pulled a tooth out, like the roots of a tooth, but like longer and sharpened.
Oh.
And I think that this could actually be, I should have led with this, but I think that we could have a whole segment for unusual, oh no, I just forgot the word that I was going to use.
Oh, no.
Unusual utensils.
Oh.
I think we could have a whole segment just for...
I love it.
Yes. Unusual utensils. Because our kitchens are so full of objects that are familiar and unfamiliar and specific. Like your mom has, I don't know. My mom always has like one or two weird utensils that I'm like, what the heck does this even do? And she's like, oh, this is a lemon baller or some kind of like specifically like you have like an avocado peeler or like an apple slicer that you like press over the apple and it slices it into all of the different slices without you having to cut it in half and then cut the half in half, you know? So there's so many fascinating kitchen utensils.
Okay. Ooh, I am so excited.
Yes. So this is it's kind of a fork thing, right?
Okay.
But it's large and it's got this tooth shape on the end.
Huh.
And it's from specifically the Fiji Islands.
Ooh.
And it is a very special utensil, very sacred and ceremonial. And it was used up into the 19th century is when it kind of stopped being officially used. But it's an official fork used specifically for cannibalistic rituals.
Wow.
So not only is it a fork used for eating other humans in Fiji, it also was only used for the like highest officials or the the tribal officials, and they wouldn't even like use the fork themselves. They had an attendant who would feed them with the fork.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah. So it's a cannibal fork, also known as, this is the original language, I think, Ikula Nibokola. Ikula Nibokola, I think is how you pronounce it. Yes, so it was used during ritual feasts, and the officials were considered too holy to touch food. So that's why the attendants would have to feed them with this special fork made specifically for cannibalism.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Pretty weird. But it's a very interesting object, so
I would love to see a picture of it.
Yeah. I will text you a picture of it right now so you can see what we are looking at. Because it's a fascinating thing. I found this, I was flipping through an old National Geographic, and they have the flashback section in the back, and they had this photo.
Okay.
Did you get it?
No, I didn't. While we're waiting, I have to tell you something about me, which is that, I just got it. Oh, wait. Oh, that isn't what I expected it to look like. Okay. Wow. And what is it made out of?
I think they were often made out of wood, but sometimes metal. There were different, they had a bunch of different ones, and of course now they have a bunch of knockoffs that people want to buy as souvenirs.
Of course.
But yeah, so I think sometimes metal, sometimes wood. I'm not sure what this one is.
Okay. Huh. Well, that is very interesting. I'm glad that you found that. How did you find that?
Just from flipping through the National Geographic.
Huh.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm looking it up now. I think they're usually made out of wood. Most frequently, which makes sense because that would be the kind of material that you'd have access to on the Fiji Islands. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I was just flipping through an old magazine and I saw a picture of it and I was like, that's so strange.
Huh.
But definitely an artifact.
That is an artifact. Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely. What was the thing that you were going to say about yourself?
Oh, you know what? It's not actually applicable. I got fixated. I got fixated on you saying that it was like a tooth. And so I was imagining like an actual human tooth, and then like the roots like go like okay, so the tooth is at the top, right? And that's maybe like more like chopsticks, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And like, you know those like children's chopsticks that are attached to the top?
Yeah.
Anyway, I've had a couple of root canals, and
Oh no.
I find teeth fascinating.
Yeah.
And I am so morbidly excited when I have to get like a tooth pulled.
Really?
So, yeah. Like, I think that teeth are the most, because you know the nerves go all the way to the bottom of your jaw.
Yeah.
And they just pull it out. Like, it's like popping a pimple or something. It's like gross in an awesome way, you know? And so when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, my orthodontic surgeon was so impressed because I was like upbeat. They were like, do you want, you know, they offered me to be like knocked out, and I was like, no, just give me, you know, local anesthetic. They're like, you want laughing gas? And I was like, no, I don't, because I was excited and I wanted to watch. And he just thought that I was like a positive, upbeat person and like nothing bothered me. He didn't realize that I was actually sick and twisted inside. So he offered me a job. And that's how I became a receptionist at an orthodontic surgeon's office.
I remember you having this job, and I remember you being like, yeah, I went in and they just really liked me and they just offered me a job. But I had no idea, like, this whole other side to the story.
Yeah, it's dark.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like I just learned so much about you.
Yeah, I'm much more dark on the inside than I appear.
That's incredible. Wow. This is one of the many, many reasons why we're friends.
Yes, it is.
History for our listeners. Sarah and I have been best friends for about 6 years now, right? Mm-hmm. 6 years?
Yeah.
2014? Something? 2013 even.
Yeah. I mean, we met in 2013. I think we became friends like beginning of 2014, right?
Yeah.
Or like the end of 2013. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But all that to say, I'm surprised that I did not already know about your morbid tooth fascination, because that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you have a news story of absurdity that you would like to share?
I do. And actually, I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to do something odd that I wouldn't do on the podcast when it really goes out. I have to learn how to pronounce this person's name.
Yeah.
It's going to play on YouTube. It's loading. Right now, there's a vacation ad. The fund starts at $289. Okay, here we go.
Carlos Ghosn.
Ghosn. Okay. All right. Carlos Ghosn. Have you heard of him?
No.
Okay. Carlos Ghosn was a exec. He was a CEO of Renault, which is a car company. It's one of the biggest car companies. And he was also chairman of Nissan, another car company. And Nissan is based in Japan. Renault is based in France. And he wanted to marry the companies. And it would have made this new company the third biggest car company in the world. And so there's been a lot of, discussion about the merger and everything. I'm actually not sure if it ever went through. It fell through in the summer. Anyway, through all of this, some financial allegations came out against him. And this was in November 2018. A lot of allegations of, funneling company money for personal gain, just like corruption, like typical white collar crime. And so he was arrested in Japan, and he claims that he was treated very badly during this time. He wasn't allowed a lawyer during interrogations. His trial kept getting delayed over and over, and I actually didn't know this. Apparently, Japan has a 99% conviction rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's extremely high.
Yes, and so he kept asking for bail, and they wouldn't grant him bail, which is pretty unusual for, like, white-collar crime, because it's not like he's gonna, like, it's not like he's a threat to society or, a violent, I don't know. And so he finally was granted bail in March. He was given no access to the internet. He was only allowed to make 2 short phone calls, one in November of 2019 and one on Christmas Eve of 2019 to his wife. Okay? Very short and supervised. And then there were cameras on his door. So he didn't have to stay in his house, but he had to stay in Japan. There were cameras on his door, and there was a police detail following him everywhere he went.
Wow.
Okay? Setting this up. There's something coming. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Oh, and it's not like, to be fair, it's not like he's probably not this innocently convicted man. Like, he's also facing charges in other countries. The U.S. charged him, and he, like, just paid $1 million fine and, like, pled guilty. So, all of this to say, he's trapped in Japan, feeling despondent, and then all of a sudden, on New Year's Eve, something happens. What were you doing on New Year's Eve?
Like the eve of 2019?
Yes. Of 2020. The eve of 2020. Oh. So, like, last,
so he's been
like
trapped
2 weeks
in this
ago.
country for a year?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, that was the summary of year of this man's life gone. So now you don't really hear anything much from the end of November, beginning of December. It's quiet. Then on New Year's Eve, he's in Lebanon.
Okay.
And his escape became an overnight legend. So all of this is background to his daring escape.
Okay.
Are you ready to hear how he did it?
I'm ready. I'm so excited.
Okay. He realized that the police detail did not follow him when he went into a hotel. So he went into a hotel that was connected to, like, it had several, like, entrances and was close to some, like, public transportation. And so he went into the hotel, the police stayed outside, and then he exited, I forgot to mention, he's wearing a hat and a surgical mask.
Okay.
Which isn't uncommon in Japan, but it's kind of like
Right.
hiding his face. And he gets on a train and goes to the airport. He doesn't have a passport because Japan has confiscated all of his passports. Although later I'll explain that's not exactly true. He gets inside, like bands when they've got like roadies, they've put all their sound equipment in these big black cases.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not doing a good job telling this story. Sorry.
I felt that way about the cannibal fork. I was like, well, I'm butchering this. No pun intended. Okay. But you're doing great. Okay. You're doing much better than I did.
No, you're okay. Thank you. I'm not. But so anyway, he's got accomplices.
Yeah.
There's a man named Michael Taylor from Staten Island.
Okay.
Who served in Lebanon, where Carlos is from, during Lebanon's civil war. And while he was there, he met a woman named Lamia and married her. And apparently, according to Bloomberg, Lebanon is so small that probably means there were only a couple of degrees of separation between their families.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that Lebanon was like, everybody there. That seems kind of
surprising.
Seems like it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, while he was there, he also met George Antoine Zayek, who was a gemologist from Lebanon.
Ooh.
And he almost lost his leg there. So
the
Michael
gemologist?
Taylor, Michael Taylor brought George Antoine back to Boston and got him medical help. So now George Antoine only walks with a limp and gave Michael Taylor his undying devotion. So these two men, Carlos has contracted to break him out of Japan, and they identified weaknesses in Japan's, travel system. What they found out was that in this one airport, their security booth was the scanner, that you put your luggage in and it scans it, and if you've got a shampoo or something in there, they'll take it out and confiscate it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It wasn't big enough for big packages, so they noticed that anything big that didn't fit, they would just wave through. And so they took this big sound case with Carlos inside it and just waved him through and put him on a plane.
Wow.
The plane flew to Istanbul. When they got to Istanbul, he got in a Ford, which is an odd detail for them to include, and drove to his next flight, which brought him to France. But he didn't go in a case in that one. He actually had a second French passport, which he was allowed to have because it was locked in a case that could only be unlocked by his lawyers, but somehow he got it out of his case.
Uh-huh.
And so then he flew from Istanbul to France. And all of this happened completely silently. And then he just shows up in Lebanon on New Year's Eve. Wow. So now he's going around saying these, allegations weren't true. He had a press conference where he's just coming off as completely crazy, and he's saying that Nissan and Renault execs planned a conspiracy against him to pin all of these things on him. So anyway, I feel like this is definitely gonna be made into a movie, like within the next couple of years.
Right.
But yeah, I just thought that was pretty strange and amazing.
Wow. That is strange and amazing. I think the strangest and most amazing part about it is that he did it New Year's, like, on the eve of 2020. Like, airport security has come so far
Yeah.
in the past several decades.
Yeah.
And yet they still were able to sneak a man onto a plane.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if some of his inspiration came from Taylor Swift. Because
Please expound.
a couple summers ago, there were a lot of rumors that Taylor Swift was traveling inside of these sound equipment cases so that she wouldn't have to deal with the press.
What?
And, like, her bodyguards or whatever would just, like, wheel them around and she would, like, hide in there.
Do you think that that's true? How valid are these rumors? Because I
feel...
I need to know, you know?
Okay, let's Google it.
I need to know, like, because I definitely have an image in my mind, but I need to know, like, how much credit to give my imagination.
Yes, confirmed. Although that's by consequenceofsound.net. Let's say. Okay, The Cut. The Cut has an article titled, wait, Taylor Swift actually travels inside a suitcase? Oh, okay, so, you know One Direction?
Yeah.
Zayn Malik, apparently outed Taylor Swift for traveling around in a suitcase. So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I feel like that is the real story. Although maybe everyone knew that but me, but like I am astonished and delighted and I don't even know what else. I can't think of adjectives to describe how I feel about this.
I think Taylor Swift is secretly a huge weirdo, like us, you know?
I love that. I think some of her music videos definitely would confirm that fact.
Yeah.
Just like, you're just weird, but in the best kind of way.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and to close out, do you have bizarre or banal stories from your life, Hattie?
I do. First though, I want to hear your little like description about the bizarre versus banal and where those things overlap. Like what led you to title this segment Bizarre or Banal?
Okay, well, I thought it would be good to share things from our own lives that are absurd. But I also thought about the moments in our lives that are so ordinary that it becomes, like, bizarre in its own way, you know?
So ordinary that it becomes extraordinary?
Yeah.
I love thinking about that.
Yeah. And banal starts with a B, and so does bizarre, so that's
true.
how that word got chosen.
Yes. Do you feel like, is your story kind of an example of that, where it's so ordinary that it's absurd?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. I mean, I actually have a bizarre and a banal story.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Which is yours?
Okay, well, this is a good question, because at first I had thought about what I was going to give as my example, and I thought of something that kind of fell into the, like, bizarre and banal category.
It's
but then
such an overlap.
Huh?
It's an overlap.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also...
But also, something happened while I was at work today.
Ooh.
And I was like, I have to share this because this is just so ridiculous.
Tell me.
That it belongs on this podcast. So maybe I'll have to share both as well.
Okay.
Okay, so the first is just me kind of thinking of an example of something that's bizarre and banal. And that is that maybe about a week ago or so, my sister and I wanted to go on just like a little adventure just around town. And there's a Burlington Coat Factory in my town. And Althea, my little sister, had never been. And so we're like, she wanted to go for some reason. She wanted to experience it. I was like, I don't know why you would choose to go to Burlington Coat Factory, but if my little sister wants to go, we're gonna go. So we go to Burlington Coat Factory, just kind of wander around. And in general, Burlington is like kind of a bizarre place to be because it's like a large department store that's not connected to the mall. It's not like a Kohl's or a Target or like there are
You're right.
franchises that have kind of like continued to advance with time, but Burlington Coat Factory seems like it's almost in its own little time space universe. Like, have you been to a Burlington Coat Factory? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I was actually going to say the same thing. Like, Burlington Coat Factories are, like, outside of time.
They are. It's really weird. And there are no windows, and the lighting in there is weird, and, like, it's just the strangest place. So we go to this Burlington Coat Factory, and we just kind of, like, wander around, and there's, like, some lotion that is overflowed its bottle, so and maybe it got like messed up in transit, and so there's like lotion spilling out over the side, so I like put some on my hands because I'm like, hey, look, there's lotion spilling out, I might as well put some on my hands. And of course it smells terrible, and so then I had instant regret because I have this terrible smelling lotion on my hands. That's not even the point, that's just a side story. But there, around the Burlington Coat Factory that is in my town, there's like, there are the shelves and the racks and everything, but then there's this like barrier that's been built inside of, because it used to be much larger. Like, I went to the same Burlington Coat Factory like a decade ago, and you used to be able to walk closer to the actual walls of the building. But now they've put up this partition where I guess they have, like, employee space behind it or overstock or I don't know. So there's this partition. And something in me was like, I want to see how close we can get. Like, I want to walk around the partition and see where it goes. Because obviously the partition is going to, like, have a door or something where it like cuts off so that you can't go behind it unless you go through an employees only door. But I was like, I just want to follow the perimeter to see where we end up. And so we go over to like the men's shoe section, which is on all the like the far left of the door. Like, if you go in the door and you go all the way as far back as you can and all the way left as you can. And so that's where the shoe section is. And we go around and we're walking the perimeter. And then there was like racks and electronics and stuff towards the front. But then there was kind of a little hallway that went off to the side. And no one would ever go that way because there's obviously no merchandise over there. There's like nothing to see here, you know? But we're like, we have to explore. So we go over there and it just like, if Burlington is a place that exists out of time, then this is like a wormhole. Like, it's a place inside of Burlington that exists even less in time than Burlington does.
Oh my gosh.
It's like
Whoa.
stepping out of something that's out of time into something else that's even more out of time. And it was like abandoned dressing rooms. Like the dressing rooms that they use are in the center of the store, but the ones that we now found ourselves in were just like completely abandoned. Like they're just there. Like you can walk over there anytime you want because it's not blocked off or anything. And then there was like a little window cut in some plywood for like that you could like stick used hangers through or something. And then there was like in the abandoned dressing room, there was one stall that was like locked and had a sign on it that was like out of use or out of order or something. And then if you walk all the way to the back of the little dressing rooms, there's like the big one, like the handicapped one. Mm-hmm. And we went in there and there's like stuff written on the mirror with like, I don't know, like lipstick or something. And it was just like the strangest thing. And it made me think of these spaces that are just in our towns. There are all these little pockets of space that people just don't pay any attention to. And they're just there. And so there's this like little section of abandoned dressing rooms inside of the Burlington Coat Factory. You know?
That is so strange.
It was so weird, but it was also like so normal and average.
Yeah. So what was your feeling when you were walking in there? Like, was it creepy? Was it kind of comforting?
I was a little creeped out. I found it creepy.
Yeah.
It was especially creepy because the one stall was like closed and had the sign that said out of order, and I just, as I was walking past it, I had totally the heebie-jeebies that like a zombie hand was just gonna like reach out and grab me either underneath like that 1 foot gap that there are underneath stall doors or like over top of it. I was just so sure that something was gonna jump out at me.
Yeah. That's creepy.
Yeah. Wow. So that's my bizarre banal crossover.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah,
yes.
I like it.
Yes. What's yours?
Okay, well, I'm going to try to tell a story that has fallen flat every time I've told it today, but it was so strange. Okay. No one seems to recognize how strange it was.
Yeah, I think you don't have the right audience, so I'm looking forward to this story.
Okay.
You have the right audience with me. You haven't had the right audience as you've been telling it.
Yes. Thank you. So, I, this morning, had to go to this it's an event where this big company is announcing something. It's, I guess I can say, it's Hilton. And they were announcing a new brand of hotels. And I expected that I would get there and they would take my coat and they'd probably have coffee and some refreshments and I'd sit down and there would be a talk about, you know, why it's a great brand. And then like probably they have like a tour, like a sample room that you can tour of the hotel. And so that's what I envisioned would happen. It was a little different than I thought. I walked in and, well, let me start outside.
Okay.
It's so windy out. New York City can get really windy. And I'm walking and I'm looking for the 535, the number, and there's the doorman like greets me as I'm walking up and he says, "Let me save you from the wind." And I was like, "Is this 535?" And he was like, "Yes, come in." And I was like, okay. Like, how did he know that I was going in there? So, so then I walk in and the PR person who's been my contact on this says, "Sarah, you made it."
Oh my goodness.
Yes? Like, how did you know? I've never met you in person before.
What?
And So I get my name tag and I walk into the room and there's nowhere to sit down.
Uh-huh.
It's just a room filled with men wearing suits, which is
Okay.
typical for like real estate events. It's like
Right.
all just these like white men who are like really buff and they're all wearing suits. And so I like awkwardly like get a cup of coffee and then like just like go find an empty wall to stand against.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everyone's networking, but I'm just like, let me just get to the like. I hate this part. So I'm
I just
leaning
need a
against the
spot of
wall.
wall. I'm going to sit here and drink coffee.
I'm leaning against the wall and thinking about how in 7th grade, my teacher told me, Sarah, you are the definition of a wallflower. And that's what I'm thinking about when this man walks up to me and introduces himself and just starts chatting. And I thought that was really nice because I was clearly like the only person there who didn't have anyone to talk to. And you're just, like making polite conversation. And all of a sudden, it's kind of crowded in there. And I'm still against the wall. And all of a sudden, this woman comes and puts her hand on my back and she says, "Excuse me, would you mind just moving forward a little bit?" And I was like,
What?
"Yeah, of course." I thought she was like trying to get past me. But she was actually making room for, immediately following her, a line of interpretive dancers. They're dressed in all black. And this is just like in a normal room where I did not, like, there's nothing going on. Just these like interpretive dancers, like contorting their bodies like strangely. And then just like start like dancing around us.
At a real estate meeting.
Yes. And so I was like, oh, and I just like kept trying to make conversation because I didn't want to like be rude.
Keep calm and carry on.
Yeah. And so the guy I'm talking to is like, "Oh, I think that they're trying to usher us into the next room." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we go into the next room and I'm waiting for the presentation to start, and I start talking with some ladies there. One of them is a journalist. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, phew, I'm with like similar people. Like, I was like, the interpretive dancers, like, wasn't expecting that. And she was like, "Oh, I mean, I guess if you're not used to it, then it could be off-putting." And I was like, and then the interpretive dancers just like went up on stage and were like dancing around the guy who was like, "Hi, I'm John whatever, and this is Hilton." And they're just like dancing in the background, and that's my story.
Wow.
Yeah. The strangest part was that no one seemed to recognize that it was strange.
Like, even people that you told the story to later?
Yes! I just got a lot of like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, yeah, that. I mean, I don't know what you're really making a fuss about, but...
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to be rude. It's like an artistic, like, whatever. Like, I don't want to be the kind of person that's like laughing at like, so I just didn't expect it, you know?
It doesn't seem like the context.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm all for interpretive dance. I love interpretive dance. And interpretive dancers. It's just like them showing up at a real estate meeting just seems so strange.
Yeah. So that's my story. I think I can leave it at that.
Yeah. That was incredible. Well told as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I like the wallflower detail.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to hear what happened at work today?
I do.
So, this is just a short one, but I'm like, this is like the definition of absurd. Just so. So, I work at a pawn shop, as I mentioned, which you know, but I mentioned that on this podcast.
Right. For the benefit of our listeners.
For the benefit of the listeners. I work at a pawn shop. I do jewelry repair. So I get to do the metalsmithing that I do in my studio as well. So that's cool. But nevertheless, people bring in stuff to sell. I don't work in sales, so I don't deal with customers usually unless I'm talking to them about a specific repair that they want done or looking at a piece of jewelry. If they're like, oh, can you replace this stone and put in a ruby instead, I would maybe look at it for them and talk to them. But for the most part, I don't talk to customers. But occasionally, in the jewelry room, we will hear word of something that's going on out in the general pawn shop area. And today, one of the other jewelers came in and said they have an industrial-sized pogo stick that someone is trying to sell, and they want me to come and test it out.
How big was it?
It was huge. It was like, I'm trying to think of a good scale. I was like, I have to see this. So I went out and like watched them, and the guy that was trying to sell it was there. He wanted $40 for it, but the shop was only willing to pay $20, so we didn't end up buying it because he wanted more for it. But it was huge. Let's see, what's a good... I don't have a good scale. Let's see. So
was it bigger than you?
Right, this is a good question. I'm about 5'3". It was shorter than me, but not by much.
Wow.
So it was maybe 4.5 feet tall, but it was massive. It was like, oh my goodness.
Here's the thing.
How big around? Huh?
Here's the thing that stands out most to me. It would be absurd if it was a large pogo stick, but it's called an industrial-sized pogo stick.
An industrial-sized pogo stick.
Like, when you have something industrial, like, that's, like, for business use. So you buy it in bulk, and then it's, like, or like, industrial-grade machinery. It's, like, bulky, like, for the use of, like, heavy construction or something. You know, like, these are, like, business uses. So, like, but what would an industrial pogo stick be used for? Who would it be designed for?
I think it's, like, an extreme sport thing, because the guy trying to sell it was saying, I don't remember how, he was, like, saying something like, oh, you can jump up to, like, 15 feet in the air with it and do a backflip. So
maybe
it's
you
like
can.
a sport thing. It was big enough that so there's like the top part, right, and the part where you place your feet, but the middle part, I couldn't fit. If I put both of my hands around it, my fingers wouldn't touch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So really big
That's
round
absurd.
and like with a really solid spring. And so at one point in my day at work today, we all went out into the parking lot where first one of the jewelers tried it. He's younger. I think they asked him to test it out because he's the youngest one there, so he's pretty sprightly. And he's also like, I don't know, he's a little lighter, so it'd be easier. But so for part of my day, we went out into the parking lot and like tested out this giant industrial grade pogo stick. And after the other jeweler tried it, one of the salesmen from the jewelry department tried it, and he's in like nice slacks and like a button down shirt and like bouncing on this industrial sized pogo stick in the car lot.
That
next
is
to the pawn
amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So that's
I bet
my
you come
What?
across a lot of interesting things in a pawn shop. I mean, that seems
Yeah.
like an obvious statement to make, but like working in a pawn shop must be cool.
It's wild. It is the most fascinating and entertaining job. I mean, I wouldn't say like the most fascinating and entertaining job ever, but I've
Yeah.
had some good times and some crazy stories.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the one from today.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe that happened today.
Yeah, that happened today, like several hours ago, something like that. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my story.
My last story, and then we can sign off, is a commuting story.
Okay. Oh, I love your
Underground.
commuting stories.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go too long because we've already been talking for an hour and a half. But basically, you know, I'm in this tunnel underground. It's a really long tunnel. And usually, I've never had a problem going through this tunnel. Like, you walk through. It's really not that hard. Somehow, a bottleneck developed the other day, and just hundreds of people were stuck in this tunnel. No one was moving. And it really wasn't clear why we weren't moving. It was just a bottleneck. And so that in and of itself is like such an ordinary but strange thing, you know, like how a thing like that happens. But also there's this preacher who like stands there, and he usually like is like shouting at you, and but today, or not today, but this day, he decided that he would use puns while he had this captive audience.
What?
And so he's saying things like, Jesus doesn't want you to be stuck anymore. Jesus wants you to move forward with your life. And the best part was how he would like pause and like emphasize the word, you know? And then like the reactions of people, most people would just like heads down, ignoring everything. There's this one guy in front of me that's like, Jesus wants you to shut up. It's just such an interesting social experiment, you know?
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus wants you to shut up. Wow.
Well, I guess this is the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Painter.
And I'm Hattie Eshelman.
Is that how you sign off a podcast?
And we hope that your week is full of strange and fascinating and wonderful instances and objects and conversations. And if you come across something particularly absurd and you want us to talk about it, reach out to us in the email address that's in our profile link.
Yes.
And
Send them.
Yeah. And also, if you want to support this podcast, then also let us know, because we don't get paid to do this thing. And if you want to pay us to do this thing and you like what we do,
We
then
like
do that.
money. Okay.
So, thanks. And we'll
Thanks.
talk to you later. Bye.
Okay. That's the end of the podcast.
That's the end of the podcast.